What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Homelab Simplified. I'm Christian, and on this channel, we build, learn, automate, and simplify everything Homelab and IT. Today, I'm going to show you guys how to format this used hard drive using Windows Disk Management. So if you just picked one up off of Marketplace, eBay, or pulled one out of an old computer, the first thing that I like to do is make sure it's healthy. Then after that, I'm going to go ahead and repartition it and get it ready for a fresh start. Along the way, I'm going to show you what each step actually does so that you're not copying what I'm doing. You'll understand why it is that you're doing it. All right, so let's jump right in. Alrighty, take 1019. All right, so the next part we're going to do is inspect the hard drive physically. The connector port right there looks pretty good. Overall, pretty good condition for this hard drive. We can go ahead and insert this into our docking station. After it's inserted, go ahead and turn this on. And then wait for Windows to recognize it. And while it does, I'll go ahead and talk about this piece of equipment right here. This is the Benfey dual docking station, Benfey or Benfey. Picked this up on Amazon for about $25. This is a USB 3.0, completely adequate for the type of stuff that I'm doing. This works for 3.5 inch and 2.5 inch hard drives, as well as 2.5 inch SSDs. All right, so Windows has recognized this. I'm going to go ahead and close that. And what we're going to use is a program called CrystalDiskInfo. You can obtain this for free online. I will leave a link in the description for it if you don't already have this. We'll go ahead and double click that and accept yes. I'll also leave a link in the description for this piece of equipment right here. And here we go. All right, so now that we have CrystalDiskInfo pulled up, we're going to take a look at a few of the things that I look for when inspecting a hard drive. So this program basically uses a program called SMART. So here's the feature right here. SMART stands for Self-Monitoring, Analysis, and Reporting Technology. So think of it as a drive's built-in health report. So what we're looking for is the overall health of the status, which in this case it's good. So if the drive reports caution or bad health, I'd recommend replacing it instead of trusting it with important data. The next thing we're going to look at, just to verify, is the capacity. So right here, we were working with a 5 terabyte hard drive, so this is the one we're looking at. Next thing I'm going to look at is the power on count. This thing's only been turned on 8 times, and 5 of those are my own testing. So when I got this, I got it with 3 count. And then the power on hours is 236 hours, which is incredibly low for hard drive used on eBay. I also got this thing for like $40, and in 2026's market, $40 is like absolutely incredible. I couldn't believe it. So I couldn't pass up on the deal. I bought 2 of them from the same supplier. All right, so moving on. Next thing we're going to look at is the temperature. Temperature, we're reading 28 degrees Celsius. Normal operating temps for a hard drive is 25 to 45 degrees Celsius. Moving on from that, the metrics, the attributes. The 3 attributes I pay attention to the most are the reallocated sector count, the current pending sector count, and the uncorrected sector count. All right, so what do each of these tell us? So the reallocated sector count, this sector is a damaged part of the disk that the drive has replaced with a spare sector. So in this case right here, we can see we have a current 100 sectors or 100% in good operating condition. The worst it can get is 100, and the threshold is 10, which means that we can essentially have 3 bad sectors replaced. In this case, we have 100% showing that we're good and that we aren't even using a single sector or single borrowed sector. So this right here shows that we've got a good, healthy drive. Moving on to the current pending sector count. What this one tells us is whether the drive has found any sectors that it isn't sure it can read reliably. And again, here we see 0, and so that's good. And then moving on to the last one, the uncorrectable sector count. This will tell us if the drive has encountered sectors that it simply couldn't recover. And so again, 0, which means we've got a really good, healthy drive here. So as you can see, we have dozens of smart attributes, but honestly, If you're just starting out, you don't really need to memorize any of these. The overall health status, the power on hours, and then those 3 error counts will tell you a lot about whether the drive is worth using or not. And so the one last thing that I'd like to add before moving on to disk management, think of CrystalDiskInfo like a Carfax report for a hard drive. It can't guarantee that the hard drive will never fail, just like a Carfax doesn't guarantee a car won't break down tomorrow. But it gives you valuable information about the drive's history and the current health before you trust it with your data. So right now we're just going to go ahead and close this application, and we're going to go ahead and move on to the disk management section to prepare for disk management. So by the end of this video, you'll understand the difference between deleting partitions, quick formatting, and full formatting, because those 3 things are often confused. One quick disclaimer before we move on. This process permanently changes the selected drive, so take your time and double check that you've chosen the correct disk before clicking anything. If you're unsure at any point, stop and verify before continuing. Alright, so to get to disk management, it's pretty simple. You can either press Windows and X, which will bring this up, and there you have disk management, or you can just simply right click Windows, which will bring up the same menu. So we're just going to click on disk management. This might take a few minutes for it to pop up. It only takes a minute to pop up because you've got a hard drive attached. If you didn't have a hard drive attached, this thing pops right up like nothing. If you're using just nothing but SSDs in your computer. So while this pops up, let's just give this a second. Here we go. So it popped up. Right here we can see we've got 3 disks installed. Disk 0, this is my boot drive. This is what I have my operating system on. And here you can verify boot drive. This drive right here, disk 1, this is just another internal SSD that I use. I use this to store like my video games. So I'm running like Call of Duty or anything else that I play on here. Disk 2, this is the actual drive that we're going to be working with for this video. And so like I said before, you want to make sure that you choose the correct one, because the last thing we want to do is wipe out your entire boot drive. So verify that you've chosen the correct disk. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to right click on the volume and delete this volume. But before we do that, I just want to say real quick, you might have partitions or several partitions in this. For instance, look at disk 0, we've got 3 partitions here. If I were to departition this or remove the partitions on this, I'd have to do this step 3 times. I'd have to do it to this one, this one, and this one. And so the step is just simply right clicking and then deleting the volume. This is saying deleting this volume will erase all data on it. Back up any data you want to keep before deleting it. Do you want to continue? This right here, like I said, I bought this off of eBay. I'm not even curious to know what's on the drive. I'm not going to even attempt to open it for the chance that there might be some kind of malware on there. I don't want to infect my computer. I haven't opened any of the drives on there, and I'm 100% positive I want to delete these. So I'm going to go ahead and hit yes. So while we wait for that, think of the partition table like the table of contents in a book. Once we delete that partition table, we've deleted the table of contents of that book. The data is still there, but the Windows no longer knows how it's organized. So if you're simply reusing the drive for yourself, you could actually stop here and create a new partition. However, if you're planning to sell or give away this drive, that's not enough. The previous data can still be recovered with specialized software recovery equipment. So if your goal is to securely erase personal information, you'll want to overwrite the drive with zeros. And I'll show you how to do that in a future video, but I'll briefly talk about that here in a second. So right now we can just see that the partition has been removed, and now we have our unallocated drive right here. This whole thing is unallocated. So to prepare the drive for Windows, we're going to now right click on this and click New Simple Volume. We're going to go ahead and accept the default on pretty much everything here. By accepting the default on this right here, we're just simply stating we're going to create one large partition for the entire capacity of the drive. And then we're just going to go ahead and assign the drive letter E. You can assign this whatever you want, but E was the default, and I'm just going to leave it there. Oh, nope. Next. And then this is the format we're going to use For Windows, we're just going to go ahead and use NTFS. You also have the option for exFAT, but if you're going to use this on Windows, go ahead and leave it as NTFS. Then we have the option right here to perform a quick format. So there's two types of formats. There's the quick format and then there's the full format. So the quick format, basically what it does is it creates a new file system almost like instantly without checking every sector on that drive. So this doesn't actually overwrite the data. It just simply creates a new file system like NTFS or exFAT. Basically, it creates a new empty file table and marks the space as available. The old data is still physically on the drive until it's eventually overwritten by something that you've added to it. The more you use it, the more the data gets overwritten. So think of it like removing, like I said earlier, a book's table of contents. Chapters are still there. You've just removed the map that tells Windows where to find them. However, a full format takes much longer because Windows scans the disk for bad sectors while formatting. So on modern versions of Windows, such as Vista or newer, including Windows 10 and Windows 11, a full format writes zeros to every sector of that partition while scanning for bad sectors, which ultimately overwrites all previous data, making it very difficult to impossible to recover. So choose full format if you're transferring ownership of the hard drive to someone else. But just be mindful that this process can take up to half a day for a drive this size. All right, so we're just going to go ahead and hit next for a quick format because I'm using this for myself. I don't really care what data is on there, and we're just going to go ahead and finish. And we'll wait for this to finish here. So once the wizard finished, the drive should appear as healthy, which here it is, it's finished, it's done. It's formatting, we're still not done, here we go. And this is what we're looking for. We saw that window right there showed the E drive, and this right here tells us healthy. So we've got a full basic data partition. At this point, the drive is formatted and ready for normal Windows use. You could even open up Windows File Explorer just to verify. Here's our drive, and we've got nothing in it. We can even we can do right click on it and check the properties of this drive. And here we see that we have 4.54 terabytes open, free capacity. All right, so that's all there is to it. Take 1013.5. And that's all there is preparing a hard drive using Windows Disk Management. If this video helped you understand not only how to do it, but why each step matters, consider giving this a thumbs up and subscribing. This is my very first YouTube video, and I'm by no means a subject matter expert in this stuff. I just wanted to share with you some of the stuff that I've learned along the way while building my own home lab. So if you stuck around this far, thank you, and I hope you've enjoyed the video. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to accomplish the same thing using PowerShell and Microsoft's DiskPart utility. It's much faster, more powerful, and it's a great skill to have if you're interested in IT and home lab. Thanks for watching, and as always, build, learn, automate, simplify. I'll see you guys on the next one.